That's not good. That's not bad. Okay, we have 7.
Facebook, we have 2.
Stream's going to start in 8 minutes. Just the warm-up screen.
Change the title maybe on the stream.
I'm gonna try to do so. I just don't know how to do it because I believe I did. So, for example, there's this thing called broadcast name. On it, I'm gonna have to put a team fight. Oh, team fight 101. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Team fight 101. SkyCoach.
Wait, why is Sayaka like active in the chat here? Did you ask him to?
No, he's always active. He's one of the coolest people.
Hmm.
I owe him 100 euros, by the way, apparently.
For
Co-casting. Apparently, obviously. It was like, pay me, so I was like, yes. Okay, we can't discuss this right now. We'll discuss Sayaka's financial status later. Okay, my stream's muted. 5 people on Twitch. Team Genji is texting for some reason. Like, what is that? And somebody tells me, hey, can I get the... So somebody just sent me a message on Twitch. Can you please give me a username and password on Twitch? Sure. Sure, Twitch, sure. No worries. I'll do it in a second. And this one doesn't change, so need to change it manually. Like, okay, already changed. So did the names change?
On Twitch, yep. But it has like a weird eye. Never mind. It's just fucked up on mine.
I know. It was fucked up at the beginning.
Let's see, Facebook. Facebook is the same. It's YouTube. Yep.
Excellent.
Thing is that people are waiting on the other stream.
I mean, they can hear us right now, so... And I already said that the stream's going to start within 5 minutes. We're just, in the warm-up screen waiting for everybody to gather up. Because I don't want to start, when the little bit of people are here. And now, it's awkward because, streaming team for 1-on-1, it's possible, general. Oh wow, we got age restricted on one of the VODs. Interesting. I guess people under 18 years old cannot really understand how to team fight. And that's why you'll forever stay in flat.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Alright, welcome everyone. We are going to start within 4 minutes. I feel like a countdown. You know what do I feel like? Who do I feel like? Have you played Black Ops? The original one?
Yeah.
And the original screen when she just says numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel just like that because I've been mentioning numbers for like the past 10 minutes of my life. Stoneblade left, joined the server again. Must greet him again. So I'm going to take another sip of my trusty milk. And let's hopefully I get to survive. Excellent. We're going to change from Red Bull to milk, maybe. You know? And then I'll take one of either two ways. Either I'll be a bodybuilder or the fattest ass on the internet. That's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Say 1, 2, and 6. Fortunately, it's age restricted. And some people returned to watch the stream, so thank you so much for that. So, in 1 minute, I'm going to announce the plans that we have for the stream. Having about 8 is not bad. One EST in 1 minute. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Alright, welcome everyone, ladies and gentlemen, to the SkyCoach stream about Teamfighting 101. My name is Hackett Mirali, you know me as the Blighted Draw, and I've been coaching for 1100 hours as of now. I'm accompanied by my co-coach Oscar. Oscar, please introduce yourself.
Alright, so my name's Oscar. You can call me Oscar, Man of Nature. I've been coaching for over 300 hours. But yeah, it's pretty much all about me.
So tell me about yourself in solo queue. Where have you been? And how well have you done?
Alright, so I am a Master Tier player, and I have been playing since Season 2. Other than that, I mostly play top lane and jungle. Those are my primary roles. However, I have played all roles, and I have great knowledge in all of them. So, what about yourself?
So, I've peaked around 660 LP at some point, and after that I decayed for a while. Right now I'm sitting around GM on one of my accounts or Master Tier. It varies from the day, but recently I've been active only in coaching. Therefore, I've decided to become or take more of a more analytical approach in order to help out the others. It helps me a lot as a coach, because I get to analyze every single role and every single matchup, and basically can summarize the things that a player needs to do. So for today we have the topic of team fighting. So is team fighting important?
Team fighting is definitely important, and it's always important to actually have a plan when you're team fighting and not just doing whatever, not autopiloting. There's a lot of things you have to take precautions to. Definitely.
So here's the deal. So for the newcomers for today, SkyCoach has offered the new first lesson that they're going to introduce, which is a premium session that you can get for 5 USD if you're new over here. It is really a great thing to have because it's different from the full free one, and you can get it in this link. It's 5 USD, so please check that out. So right now for the plan of the stream, we're going to talk about team fights, and in my opinion, team fighting varies between the elos. So what I'm trying to say is in here that team fighting in iron is different from team fighting in gold, is different from team fighting in diamond, is different from team fighting in master and above. Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Definitely, for sure.
So what is the biggest mistake that people do in a team fight?
So what I would say is probably the biggest mistakes especially in lower elo is their understanding of their champion and their positioning, definitely.
And
because
so, and I would say this is due to the phrase, like one simple phrase that they have is always focus the ADC. Is that right or wrong?
Well, it can be right and it can be wrong. This all comes back to your win conditions and the enemy's win conditions.
Could you explain on that a little bit, please?
So essentially, the win condition is simply based off the thing that you have to play around in order to win the game. And it can be, for example, if your ADC or if the enemy ADC is fed, then sure, you'll have to focus her. But if the enemy jungler, for example, the enemy jungle master E is really fed, then he's going to be the primary focus, right?
Right. So let's take a look at the example of a team comp. For example, let's just create 2 team comps and let's decide to see how they fight, and then we can talk about how they fight within the elos and then how different classes fight. I believe that this is the best way that you can describe this. For an example, let's say for in blue team, who would you want to have as your teammates? For top lane, who would you choose?
Let's go for Maokai.
Maokai. I like Maokai. And for jungle?
Jarvan.
Jarvan. Mid lane.
Anivia.
Okay. That sounds like a really cancerous comp already. ABC?
Let's say Caitlyn.
Caitlyn. Alright. And let's say for the support.
Let's go for Leona.
Leona support. Alright. So everyone, let's just describe this game, as if it's like 15 minutes and it's time for everyone to ARAM. So you have Maokai right here, you have Anivia right here, you have Jarvan right here, and you have Caitlyn and Leona, I guess. This is how they would ideally position, if I'm not mistaken, because this is the most realistic, positioning for each character that I might find. What do you think?
So yeah, I would definitely say you're putting the front line ahead of them, and you still have the Leona there to peel for the Caitlyn and the Anivia. So I would say that is the best position, yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's say that how would they play if we had another enemy team against them? So I'm gonna pick up my picks. I'm going to pick Malphite. I'm going to pick Zac. Oh wait. Oh, because there's no place in team 1. Malphite has been kicked out. I'm going to pick Zac. I'm going to pick who should I pick for mid lane? Why don't I pick Ahri? I like Ahri. Let's pick in the ADC. Can we pick Lucian? And can we pick for support, Brand support? So if these two team comps would try to face off against each other, again, I'd have to put, the Ahri, the Brand, and the Lucian right in the back, and Zac maybe want to take the flank. So how do you think that this team fight should be played?
So in for what team?
An example for blue team. How would blue team want to play this out?
Alright, so the important thing here for the blue team, and the important thing to see here, is that Zac and Malphite are both AoE engagers. So this means that grouping up is something that you want to avoid. You don't want to single out too much, but you want to make sure that you're keeping a distance. You don't want the Malphite to get a 5-man ultimate that will literally just end the fight for you. Because the Zac follow-up, the Brand ultimate, there's a lot of AoE, and definitely change CC here. So splitting up and trying to catch out someone who's either in a bad position, or try to simply just burst down a tank who's going for a weak engage.
So I would say that, for example, let's talk about this, the way that they would play this from iron to gold, right? From iron to gold, I believe this is what's going to happen. Leona is going to try to engage on either the Brand or the Lucian. They'll just end up cutting back the Leona. If Maokai engages on anyone, he's already isolated to the 3 enemy backline. Zac will just, jump into the middle of the Caitlyn and the Anivia, leaving the enemy team, the blue team, without any damage. So, you see, the most important thing to do right now, as you said, is not to stack up together, but not to... Oh, I just ended up deleting everything. That's really amazing. It's the most important thing to do right here is not to stack up together, and at the same time not to spread out too much. So, as a tank, who should you focus in a team fight?
So this is something that varies a lot, because there's a lot of different things you can do with the tank, because you have, for example, the engage on the AD carry, you have the peel for your AD carry or your carries. But this all comes back to the win conditions. And in general, you should simply play around their win condition and try to engage on them. That is a general thing. However, if they have a lot of follow-up for that, you gotta remember that you don't want to single yourself out. And when it comes to team fighting, something that a tank does really well is catching out people. because a tank usually has a lot of CC,
Right.
and this is
Example,
something that the
Maokai.
tank can play around. Yeah. So this is something that can change a whole team fight, literally just by catching, or for example, Malphite ulting the Caitlyn who's walking towards Baron if you're trying to bait the Baron.
Right.
This can change the whole team fight.
Yeah, because it always depends on where you're team fighting and where you want to go with it. For example, like if you just take a Maokai and use W on the Malphite to stop him from ulting, this is actually not a bad thing to do. Because you have the follow-up from Jarvan and Anivia CC, you can single out the Malphite. Sure, he's a tank, but at the same time, if he doesn't get his ultimate where he wants to be, for the brand to follow up with the meaningful damage, then you already started to establish a win condition in that fight, wouldn't you say that?
Yeah.
You also would try to have, different approaches. For example, does Jarvan and Maokai have the potential to catch a Lucian with a Maokai and a Brand? And a Maokai, a Brand, and a Zac? Is it possible to have that? Lucian has his E, he can always go backwards, and then Brand has a stun, so if he stuns the Zac, it's only the Malphite left with the Malphite left. But yeah, sure. Malphite has Q, and he can slow Maokai, so you really can't progress into that, and you end up kiting yourself into. They end up counting you into oblivion, especially with a kite mage like Ari, and Brian has a lot of AoE spells. So you can just, since now you're in his range, you're going to already transmit your ultimate between the 5 different members, as you can see right there. One thing that I would say, it's really important to understand the zones that you control. So for this, I mean, like as you mentioned, it depends on your win conditions and where you're fighting. This time I'm gonna have to carefully delete the lines that I've created. Just give me a second. Can you see my screen, by the way?
Let's see here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really depends on which areas that you control. For example, like let's say that you have priority for the Baron pit. So you can enter with your team, and then, for example, you go for the Anivia, for the Maokai is right here, and for the Jarvan, you have the Caitlyn and the Leona. Can Zac really jump into here and do something?
No.
Can red team enter through here?
I would not say so.
Right. Therefore, this means that this is what you need to control. This is the space that you already have. But how you can project power is different. Projection of power is the ability with the importance of the element of the race. Sure, we'll look into that in a bit. For example, let's say that we have, that you have projection of power. Now, can Maokai engage though?
Yeah, Maokai can definitely engage.
But what's the response from the enemy team?
Well, the response is definitely trying to shut them down as quickly as possible.
Right.
However, if we look at the blue team, we still have a lot of follow-up. We have Leona ult, we have Jarvan EQ ult, right? And we have the Anivia ult. If we look at the enemy, or the red team right here, they're stacked up in the jungle. And our team comp on the left here, or the blue team, has a lot of AoE, which is really good in fighting in the jungle, right?
Right.
So there's how they can follow up that.
So it's a really good engage from the ultimate. It just depends on how fast they can follow up to the Maokai engage. If they really can't, so timing is also really important when you're team fighting. You can't just, engage, wait a bit, and then you can go in again. That doesn't really work like that. If Maokai engages, you need to be on the same page and make sure that Jarvan can follow up with EQ, and Leona can ult and probably CC one of the targets. I'd say that Leona's main target in CC is Malphite. Like, that's the main target of Leona should CC. Because if you allow Malphite ulti to land, or to hit a Caitlyn or an Anivia, first of all, you lose the Anivia AoE. So you no longer have any AoE control from your teams. Then you allow Brand ulti to actually be something that's really meaningful, therefore just destroying the whole enemy team comp. Right, they're both enemies, so that's why. The blue team comp. Would you say that Leona should focus Lucian, for example?
If she has the opportunity, she can go for Lucian, but the thing is that Lucian is going to be so far away from the fight that I say that it wouldn't matter, so I wouldn't say so.
Right. So this is what I said. This comes back to what I said before, that, you see, it's really wrong sometimes to say always. You can't say always in League of Legends, like you see in low elo, like, oh yeah, just focus the AD carry and then you win. But what if the AD carry is not even in the fight? Do you not focus him? Do we? What you can't focus him, but by holding your spells. Sure, Leon ulted, then maybe Lucian can't join in the fight through here. But what you can do is can always join in this way, right? As a Lucian. So the way to focus that is by trying to hold up your spells. So once he enters the fight, if it is not needed, you can actually try and catch him out on this one, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now let's take some classes and see how each class should try to play the game. So we have League of Legends, we have several classes, right? Let's just try to list them. I don't know why you're not deleting the champions. We can just delete this right here. Let's say that we have mages. Sorry for my handwriting. So in mages we have control mages. We have battle mages. Can you give me an example of a battle mage? Hello? Right, I lost connection. That's really unfortunate. Can you hear me now?
Wait, hello?
Yeah, sorry. Discord things. So, can you give me an example of a battle mage? Oscar? Yeah.
For example, Envia?
Envia is a battle mage. I'd say Vladimir is a battle mage. You know? Envia is a more... Vladimir is a battle mage because, well, not only is classified as such, because battle mages really, you know, they drain tank a person. For example, like Vladimir, he's not so tanky. He doesn't have a lot of defensive stats other than his pure HP, because whenever he builds AP, he gets HP. Whenever he builds HP, he gets AP. So by drain tanking the person and overhealing, that's a battle mage. Nivea could be Karthus, because he constantly tries to go in and dies. And you now have control mages and you have burst mages. So burst mages like Lux, right? Lux can also be a burst mage. And thank you for the follows, guys. Yo, object, is that you? Oh no, I'm not object. I'm liking. I think by object you mean immortal object, right? And thank you guys for the follows. Dizzy Reaper.
Wait, hello?
Yeah, no I can't.
Okay.
Right, so for example we have mages. We also have, you know, marksmen. You can have a marksman support, you know, a marksman ADC, just, you know, just different class. We have tanks, bruisers, and assassins. Or we can say that we have enchanters. Enchanters like Soraka. So these are such broad classifications. For example, let's go into tanks, right? Can we classify tanks? Can we agree that we have to classify tanks into, for example, an engaged tank and a battle tank? For example, I mean by an engaged tank or a peel, like a peel support like Leona, and a battle tank like Mundo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you play as either of these classes? You know, as an engaged tank and a battle tank.
Alright, so for the engage tank, there's a lot of things you need to keep in mind. Because you simply can't just engage like we've said before. You can't simply just go on the AD carry and, you know, assume you're gonna win, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to play around the win conditions, and we need to look for opportunities and mistakes in the enemy team. We need to look for mispositioning, and we definitely need to look for counter-engaging. For example, if a Nunu tries to go in on us, he's an engaged tank, for example, and he doesn't get the snowball in time. This might be an opportunity for you to go in, as for example, a Leona try to simply burst down the Nunu, or look for something like that, right?
Right.
So, and there's also disrupting CC, for example. If you're playing something, like for example, a Zac, for example, and we see that there is for example, a Riven that tries to engage in a fight. And what Zac can do right here is that he can simply E and try to cancel Riven's spells, cancel Riven's combo. Because this is something that Zac does really well. He has a knockup that is really simple for him to control and really simple for him to engage. Right?
Right.
And then for the battle tanks, and this is kind of an odd one because there's really not that many battle tanks. You have Mundo, for example, and what Mundo should do in a team fight, for example, is that he should always try to hide his team, try to peel away from them. And he can also look for potential, or he actually has a lot of DPS, a lot of damage actually.
Yeah.
But his general position in a team fight is to peel for your AD carry, or your carry, sorry, and look for potential picks or potential vision, maybe. So what would you say?
I would say that you're right. I'd say that Mundo's the greatest benefit is not the slow CC that he has. It's just that the fact that Mundo has a lot of DPS and a lot of HP and regen that he can almost take an entire team comp. He is there to segregate the enemy team. No racism there. He is there to segregate the enemy team by forcing the backline to back off, isolating the front line to the enemy team, like in the case of a team fight. Because really Mundo doesn't do much. If he just stands 1-on-1 against the tank, he can't stop him, he can't slow him, he doesn't damage tanks as much as he damages, squishies, because his Q is the percentage health damage, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, you're correct.
And percentage missing health, I guess. Or is it percentage health? Anyway, it's either of those mechanics, so let's not get into the peculiarities of that. Let's just try to stay on the accurate track. So by that mean, he can just, land 2 Qs on Caitlyn, and percentage missing HP. He can land, for example, a Q on Caitlyn. The next Q that he lands is just, is going to be even harder. And it has a minimum amount of damage, so it's really, really hard for a squishy to be hit by, a couple of window Qs. Then you would say, like, hey, why did half of my HP disappear? Why does this Q get harder and harder? It's because of this mechanic. Another thing that he has, is the DPSW, the fire ring that he has around him, and his E. So, like, Mundo's E, isn't it like 100% of your bonus AD, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Right. So with that, it's enough for him to damage any squishy and kick it out of the fight, but it's not enough to damage a tank because, first of all, tanks have a lot of missing HP, but only at the end of the fight, and they can heal most of it together, so it doesn't win in that regard. Against bruises, they can out-heal him, most of them at least. At least I know that Darius is good against him. I don't know about bruises like Aurelia, for example. I'd know that, like another battle mage, maybe... We can say that Nautilus is an engage mage, but only his Q is really good for engage. Otherwise, he's only for disruption CC. I'd say that another engage tank another battle tank is Ivern. Definitely Ivern is a good one. His shield, his Q allows other people to follow up with him, and the disruption CC for, as you said, Daisy. So that's their job, is just to isolate, once the front line from the back line. And that's up to a certain cap. Like, you can't do this forever. Maybe Mundo can do this forever. I don't know about that. Okay, let's talk about mages for a second. So as we said, we have a lot of types of control mages. And this is going to be really important because it will tell you when you should pick each and when you should play each. For example, let's say that we have mages again. We have kite mages. Can you give me an example?
So for kite mages, you have, for example, Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia. Ari is a good kite mage. Kite mage assassin. Okay. Control mages like Zyra Azir. Also good DPS. Burst mages like Veigar. So there are a lot of blurry lines between these two. Like, the best burst mage that I can think of is Ziggs, but he can also be a nice, kite mage, control mage. But kite mages, control mages, burst mages, and battle mages. So let's talk about each of them. So for example, what allows you to play a burst mage or a control mage? Oscar, are you there?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sorry. What did you say?
What allows you to play a burst mage or a control mage? What are the the 3 things that you need to have at least?
So for the first one, it's definitely gonna be vision.
Vision. Right. I'd say positioning and understanding like how to position a team fight. And you know what enhances? You know what I like about burst mages in a team comp? So this is what makes them good. It's like because they are the best ones who can make use of a CC of a tank, right? For example, it's really pointless to play Syndra without having a tank.
Definitely.
Right. So let me explain on that a little bit. So let's just say, for example, that we have, like these 2 team comps. Like let's just say, I'm gonna draft the team pick around Syndra. Let me just put Aatrox. Let me just put, Rek'Sai. Now I know that these are not tanks. Syndra. Let's just put Jhin. And let's put Janna. Let's split a heavy engaged team comp against the Syndra. So you can give me some names. Let's just take Malphite first of all. Well, give me a heavy engaged jungler other than Zac.
How about for example, Hecarim.
And a pick that's really good against Syndra in mid lane, for those of you who do not know, Yasuo or Zed. I like Yasuo. Let's just put Yasuo since there's a Malphite. Let's put a Vayne, really hard to catch, a Syndra, and let's put something like a Lulu, which is really cancerous for Syndra. So let's just assume that we're playing the Syndra right here. What I would hate right here, that if for example, let's just go into another ARAM. Okay, so for example, this is Aatrox, this is Jhin and Janna, so this is a backline and frontline team comp. Let's just say Yasuo is also frontlining sometimes. Well, you never know. Most Yasuos really love to int, so why not? Okay. For example, let's just say that Malphite is going. So if Aatrox goes in on the Yasuo, and also Rek'Sai decides to go on Hecarim, Malphite can just ignore the existence of Aatrox, ulting the Syndra Jhin Janna, and Janna cannot really react yet, because then she'll be also ulted. So if you had, for example, instead of the Aatrox, if you had a Maokai, it would be so much better for the Syndra, because any Maokai W is a guaranteed kill for the Syndra regardless of what might happen. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely.
You can also, there are 2 ways to play this right now, if you had a Malphite instead of this Aatrox. Supposedly, let's say that Malphite went and used his W. You can start with Syndra ulti Q on the Yasuo, for example, and then with Scatter of the Week, you can have a multi-man stun. You probably can stun 3 to 4 people, rather than, getting killed until you have Banshee's Veil. So for control mages, the most difficult thing is positioning. And for burst mages, the same thing, because they're immobile. And not only that, it's just because they really need the zone that they have to control in order to be that much effective. Alright, so let's talk about marksmen for now. Or for example, assassins, one of everybody's favorite class, I guess. As they're getting nerfed over and over again. For example, let's say... Oh, Cannon is a good battle mage though, isn't he? Forgot to talk about Cannon. Yeah. So let's talk about battle mages first, then we can go for that. For example, that you have, I don't know, Cannon of Vladimir on the same team. Oh, well, not on the same team, but like trying to accomplish new things. Oh, that guy's so in charge. Okay. Yeah. For example, let's say that we have a Cannon, and he tries to play. So how would you play a team fight as Cannon?
So as your goal is to get in there kind of unsuspected. You need to make sure that they don't have it. Sorry?
How would you do that?
So first of all, what I would do is definitely get an Oracle Lens or get a control ward, right? And you can sit around in bushes and look for opportunities. Then go in, use your E, R, flash in, and then look for the stun and the Sonias, right?
Right. Yeah, and for Vladimir, it's almost the same thing. Sure, he also makes use of Oracle Lens, but Vladimir does not have, he has to have Proto Belt and his Flash. You can always decide to wait on the sidelines, the same as Kennen, until wait a team fight until it erupts, and then you can just go in for the flank, and again, you do the same thing that Kennen wants to do, right? It's and for Kennen, is Proto Belt an essential item for his engage? I don't think so. What about you?
You don't. No, you don't need it.
It's
But
not
it's definitely a
essential.
plus.
Yeah, it's a plus to have. It's just not essential. Especially, like, here's the thing. Sad face Zac. Here's the thing, sad face Zac. If you have Proto Belt, it's an item slot, right? It's really great in the early game. It's really great in the laning phase. It's just not an important item at the later stages of the game. That burst that you get, or that small dash that you get, is really not comparable when you barely have any cooldowns, right? So you just get a better scaling item that lets you, for example, Zhonya's, that lets you survive more. An early Zhonya's would be really good. A second item Zhonya's. I think that Proto Belt is just used because you had Omnistone. I already called it Omnistone. Kleptomancy, because with Kleptomancy and then you proc the passive from Hextech Revolver, it's just really good to have that, all in all. One thing that I would say for Kennen, it's really essential, is to have Zhonya's, obviously, because you want to survive these engages, just in case if your team decides to turn a blind eye to your existence. Okay. Alright, so we talked about Vladimir, we talked about the Kennen. Now let's talk about, for example, AD carries. AD carries, similar to control mages, they're similar to burst mages, they need somebody to be in front of them, except that not all AD carries are created equally, Riot Games. So an example, let's just say ADCs, okay, we have the Marksman, we have the new class, the Assassin Marksman, I would call it. Example would be Kai'Sa and Vayne. Yeah, exactly. Kai'Sa and Vayne. I don't think you need a lot of frontline. I think you just need more survivability if you are Kai'Sa and Vayne. Sure, you can get engaged on, but as long as you do not die, you can just do a lot with the lifesteal that you have. Plus the 600 shield, plus Phantom Dancer, plus all these items that I'm talking about. Therefore, if you have a Kai'Sa and Vayne, maybe instead of picking up a tank, now here's the thing, Kai'Sa is really tricky, because a Nautilus is good with Kai'Sa, not because of the CC, because Nautilus means that you have 3 stacks of plasma at the beginning of the fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you want to do is, you always want to proc plasma as much as possible in your Kai'Sa. That's why you buy Rage Blade and all the other items. It's just, it's a lot of damage. That's why I would say that. So, so how would you play as an AD carry?
So your kind of goal is to get out as much damage as possible. You gotta remember that you're most likely the main source of DPS on your team. And by you dying early, that can cause a lot of different things. For example, you can lose a team fight, you can lose the potential to get a Baron. A lot of things add up from you dying. Yeah, for example.
Yeah, you can lose up the game. Then, when I would say that most AD carries, they just die, is because they refuse to hit what's in front of them and refuse to kite back. For example, if you see your frontliners, for example, let's just say that there's a team fighter right here, and the enemy frontline somehow managed to just pick up this area right there. So if you just, for example, let's just say that your, I don't know, Zed decided to ult someone and just get out and do a flashy play on whatever, and then Faker, what was that? Sure. But if you're right here and the enemy front line is right here, you really can't join this thing. And this is what puts, this is the biggest issue in Platinum Elo. That everyone's like, I'm gonna focus the AD carry, and then yeah, sure, they focus the AD carry, and the AD carry focus the AD carry, and then you're dead. Because what happens is you just ended up dragging yourself through 5 people, thinking that they're not going to focus you, even though when you're the main target in most of the cases. What I'd say that people should do as an AD carry, that they should really look on who's on the topic of how to play ADC. I've been trying to play the role, to learn the role, on getting jungle any advice on how to get the death out of a death or 2 situation. Like, what should I be focusing on? We'll answer this question after a couple of topics. Sad face Zac. Right. So we can just say that, that as an AD carry, you really need to start hitting what's in front of you first. Check if you can go in. Check if your support is behind you. If you have these things in check, then proceed. If the tank can't tank any longer, ignore the tank and go on the good targets like a Caitlyn or whatever. But if the tank can still tank more, you really need to start eliminating the tank first, because you have to remember that this tank is the reason that you're seceded into two groups. So if you get rid of the secession earlier than the enemy team gets rid of their own secession, then you're guaranteed to win the team fight and possibly a Baron, possibly the game. It just doesn't matter. It's like, what are your goals in life? You need to determine that right now. Okay. Alright. And now Enchanter supports. Enchanter supports, that shouldn't be that difficult to assess. Enchanter supports, you just basically enchant whoever is in front of you. Alone, you're useless. With somebody else, you're useful. So that goes the same for control mages. Enchanters for control mages kind of the same way, that they play kind of the same way. They really need somebody to play off of in order to land their abilities. Like, obviously, this is at the highest level of play. I'm not saying that you can't land them. It's just, this is how the game should work. Should being the keyword. For example, that you have a Janna. If you always need to understand, like, who's your win condition. Do you have a Caitlyn into a Vayne that's going to fall off late, or do you have a Yasuo that's 11-0? Now, obviously, you need to face a decision and file for a divorce from your ADC, and then just marry the Yasuo, dude. There's just nothing wrong with that for this game. And yeah, that's basically the win condition that you need to have. I'd say that other things that we did not discuss in here is the locations of these team fights. There are basically two ways that you can two locations for a team fight: lane or a juncture point in the jungle. The team with the highest AoE, it usually tends to win the jungle fights. Correct?
Yeah, definitely.
One thing is really important though. Vision significantly improves your odds at winning a jungle fight. Why is that?
The reason for that is that, well, if you're trying to engage, even though you have more AoE, if you have a Misfortune, if you have, for example, a Cannon and a lot of AoE, it doesn't really matter if you don't have enough vision, because maybe their tank is going on the flank and looking for a potential backline. You need to have a lot of vision, you need to have a lot of info. If not, you can't engage. Right?
Right. It also lets you know with oh, by the way, Spot Blocker says, "What's up, Oscar?"
Spot Blocker.
Yeah.
Hey.
He wrote your name with C.
Well, I'm offended, I guess.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that I would say that vision is really important, because it allows you to also pace your abilities, so you understand like what you should burn and what you shouldn't burn already, just in case if a wild Lucian tries to join in the fight and other people tries to hide from your abilities. So for example, like, let's say that you're playing Riven, well, you're a Riven 1 trick, and they have a really fed Jhin. Vision will really lets you know where is this Jhin. If he's bot side, go for everything, and your fight is top side, just burn everything out. But if he's going to join in the fight, it's really unwise to already use everything and then Jhin just comes and picks up a free quadra, right? For me, for example, as an assassin player, it really, well, as a LeBlanc player, it really lets me know when should I use my dashes, when should I even enter the fight. If there is no ADC, I will focus the tank as well. For example, as a LeBlanc player, if I have a fed AD carry, or if there is no target for me to kill, what I would do, I would just sit in front of my AD carry. Let's just say that my AD carry is here. I'll just decide to double chain the tank or double chain two members right off the block, because that's just the best course of action that I have. It's so much safer and so much more guaranteed than trying to one-shot a Maokai. Guess what? Never gonna work. But if I will just let the Jinx to hit 7,000 auto attacks on a Maokai, that is just so much better. Taylor Swift's dog actually is followed, so that's really good. Like, you have Taylor Swift's dog, dude. Like, what more do you need? Not sure if it was Harry or some other guys that she dated, because she dumped like a lot of them. Talking about early, mid, late game strategy. Alright? What about pathing in the new Jungle Rift? I have a question. I tried to play consistent laning phase top and maximize EXP freezing a bunch, etc. Now that the dragon bug is a bug priority. I've noticed that I don't get a lot of early dragons, leading to no elder fun when we take over late. That's a tricky question.
Yep.
Basically, how can I cleanly impact dragon without sacrificing lane too much? Alright, so let's start with set phase Zach's issue. On topic of how to play ADC. So you do not rely getting jungle in ranked. Only advice on to get it death out of death 2 kind of situation. So if you're trying to play ADC, it just depends on Zach. If you're in chat, just type out. If you're trying to get the best out of your laning phase as an AD carry, it depends on which AD carry you're playing. If you lose on a Lucian, if you lose on an Ezreal, it's really hard for you to do anything afterwards because you were supposed to win whatever matchup you drafted Lucian into, up to a certain point, obviously. But if you're playing a late game ADC, for example, Vayne, Kai'Sa, Jinx, insert all of them below because they all have great late games. What you can do is you can dodge the laning phase. Just wave clear and back off constantly. Rinse and repeat. You don't really need to play the laning phase if you're losing it. Do you agree, Oscar?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. For example, you have Jinx. You can use your cannon on the backline. I'm trying to do Jhin, MF, or Senna. MF is not bad. Jhin is okay, I would say, for this. But he like, look, understanding your wave clear pattern lets you understand how you can dodge laning phase. For example, for Jinx, you can use 4 rocket auto attacks on the backline. This is starting minute 1, and then you pick up the rest with your cannon. Do the same thing for the second wave. You have the highest pushing power other than Tristana, then it's just going to bounce back into you. As it bounces back, you can have an early recall, rinse and repeat, get more attack speed, it's cheaper, and then you can just rinse and repeat, do this over and over again. And all in all, it's sad how you should play it. Alright, so this is your friend Oscar. What about jungle pathing in the new jungle patches and Dragon Rift, Drags and Rift? So what do you think about them?
Okay, so jungle pathing has significantly, like in my opinion at least, been improved. Because jungle now actually has, to clear their camps. And the reason for that is because they pretty much, or I mean, wouldn't say removed, but shared XP is a lot weaker now than it was before. However, jungle is so much more impacted now of not just clearing, but counter jungling, because they actually removed catch-up EXP in the game. So counter jungling and playing a champion that actually has the potential to 1v1 another carry, such as for example Hecarim, such as for example Graves, or maybe Olaf. Those are probably the strongest junglers at the moment because they have so much 1v1 possibility. So they're able to, for example, deny a buff, which can cause huge leads in specifically the early game, which is something that decides a lot of things right now because of the catch-up EXP being removed, especially with top lane, especially with jungle. And for the rifts, I would say that it is definitely a high priority. However, you're always going to prioritize the dragon. And you just got to remember, for the dragons, you got to remember the conditions you need to have. You need to play around bot lane, you need to make sure that you have bot lane prio, mid lane prio, and vision. And especially vision on the enemy jungler. So I would say that dragons are indeed more important than rifts at the moment. Even though rifts are really strong, I would mainly consider dragon the better objective. So dragon is definitely going to be your main objective. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Attackit, or?
I completely agree with you because dragons, the dragon soul, it's other than the cloud dragon, all dragon souls are just basically game over. Whether you're getting a damage for free, whether you're getting a free shield, or whether getting ultra huge lifesteal on any champion that you play for free, that's just not okay. I don't understand what they've done, really. Okay. I have a question about how to so he's a top lane. So we have a guy, he's having a top lane crisis.
Oh.
Yeah. He doesn't want to sacrifice a lot for the laning phase, and he wants to take the dragons.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
So for top lane, this is kind of tricky because solo EXP and catch-up EXP, like I said, has changed so much. So it is really important to stay in lane. However, the thing you gotta remember is that there's still catch-up EXP on kills, right? So you can still play around that, and even though or something I personally have done a lot, especially like in solo queue recently, is that instead of like walking all the way down bot lane, or say TPing bot lane to the dragon, something I try to do is that I try to line up my back with the dragon spawning, so that we have an opportunity for me to simply walk there right when the dragon spawns. So I still have the opportunity to teleport back to my third top lane, even after dragon fights, and that's simply how I've played around it recently, because it is indeed really important that they are there. The thing you gotta remember though is that if the enemy top laner teleports, well, you can still teleport as well, and it doesn't really matter, right? So it really depends on these conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put. Now a question I've been trying. Okay, considering that after the rise of elements, dragons become more valuable if you're behind your game and you have zero control around the pit. What as you're part of the jungle? What's the optimal call? Refusing to contest or taking the dragon fight anyways? Well, it depends really on what dragon you're sacrificing. Are they the first two dragons? If they were the first two dragons, try to avoid contention until you can establish some control in your jungle, then some control over the pit. It just depends on the circumstance of the game. If it was such a bleak game, you're probably not going to win this one from the start. If you already lost control of the pit, it depends on when you've lost control. It depends on against who you're losing control. It depends on who's with you. But if it was like the other option, like either give up the dragon and lose, or take the fight and maybe try to do something, or like to try to steal the dragon, then I'd say try to steal the dragon and take the fight anyway, because well, they might have not watched this one. They did not the team fight in the 1-on-1. Therefore, it means that you have a chance. Well, no, it's really that like look at the second option that you're putting. Should we give them a dragon soul and lose to that, or should we, try to contest the dragon soul and lose because we try to contest the dragon soul? Because you do realize that once they get the dragon soul, if they're that ahead already, if you do not have an ultra scaling team composition, then there is absolutely no point in trying to contest and trying not to contest. But if you have the ultra scale, if they're like full early game champions, that even with the dragon soul, the champions can't beat yours at a certain point, then at that point you should try to farm up. So, I guess we've had the questions. Guess we've okay. We have one more. What about Elder Dragon? I think it's overpowered, but the games will be so fast that the Elder Dragon point won't come after. What is your take on it? Well, that's the point. Riot really wanted to create a death ball meta around the dragons. This is the death ball meta around the dragons. Well, obviously, the Elder Dragon's really amazing, and sure, if you have it in a couple of minutes, maybe wait these couple of minutes and try to, for example, take the Elder Dragon. I don't think Elder Dragon is overpowered. I just believe that 1 HP Vayne that you didn't finish off earlier, right now is not going to survive on 1 HP anymore because she's going to get executed. And this really removes a lot of variables. It lets champions be played easier. For example, Zed right now really doesn't need to land anything at later stages of the game. Just Alt R, just WRE, and then you just go back, try to land an alt attack or two. That's 75% of somebody's HP, then Elder Dragon finishes off. It's not as strong as it used to be, but right now it just allows you to play the team fights in a sloppy manner and still win the game. So, it's just making, everything easier. So, that's it for today, I guess. We've had really good questions. We've had good interaction. Thank you so much for attending. I'd say that you should definitely check out the offers that we have. Riot will nerf it. What do you think? I'm not sure that if it's a justified nerf or not, honestly.
Yeah, I haven't really heard of them saying that yet.
So one thing that I would say right now that you guys should try to join up and try to get the new 6-pack price on 99 USD. So for example, right now you can, if you haven't taken a first lesson already, you can go and join up for SkyCoach for the first lesson order. You can get this one, 6-person lessons with diamond. Do we have diamond coaches?
Do we?
I'm not sure. I think we have a couple of them. I think we have a couple of diamond coaches, but all the coaches are like master tier. Anyway, 6 personal sessions with diamond coach, or most of us are above this level anyway. With Diamond Coach, 6 personal sessions. You know, you get the personal training plan. You get also extra. If you had, if you had more sessions, then you get also 1 lesson extra. For example, if you have, 3 lessons, if you have 4 lessons, you can get 6 plus 1 plus 2, depending on how much you have. You can buy the first lesson for 5 USD if you haven't taken lesson already. I'm gonna put this link in chat, and for all of these answers you can just one more question. What should you do in jungle lanes if you aren't utilizing vision as much? As a jungler, I mean, how to keep a vision everywhere. Oracle, use your Scry's Bloom, try to get those wards, and maybe you can have a seminar on warding, or maybe you can take 6 personal lessons with Diamond Coach. So right now we have a discount on that. It's going to be discounted from 119 to 99 USD. So it's like a $20 discount, isn't it? $20 discount, and you also get an extra session. So that's a really good price in my opinion. Especially that's better than whatever it was before, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, alright guys, if you have more questions, you can text me at the BlightedRa37 hashtag 1698, and yeah, we'll be waiting for your questions. We'll be waiting for everything you have. Hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll definitely see you next time. Oscar, do you have any finishing words?
Oh, yeah. You can contact me as well if you have any questions, so I'll leave my Discord there as well. So
yes, you can get 6 sessions with Oscar. Of course. Then just use this link right now.
Definitely. And it was nice meeting all of you. It was nice answering all of your questions, and hopefully we cleared up a lot of stuff. And then again, nice to meet you all. I hope you have a good one. And
have fun, guys.
I'm out.
See you later.